This terrifying archaeological discovery made scientists scream in fear. Welcome back to Ancient History. Dear friends, have you ever wondered what the remnants buried underground for thousands of years are really trying to tell us? Some archaeological discoveries don't just astonish scientists, they send chills down their spines, sometimes even making them scream in fear. In today's video, we're going to uncover some of the most spine-tingling mysteries ever unearthed. From the nearly 4,000-year-old mummy of a woman who has somehow preserved an eerily captivating beauty, to the skeletal remains of a figure hunched over as if pleading for something, buried since the Middle Ages. And then there are the bodies found lying face down deep within pitch-black caves, places untouched by human footsteps for centuries. Make sure you're ready, because this journey will take you across the boundaries of history, science, and into realms that some say are anything but coincidence. Let's dive in. The skeleton of the lady buried in a hunched position in the Middle Ages. A woman who lived more than 500 years ago was found buried in a small, dark room behind an altar, not lying flat like a typical burial, but hunched over, with her head bowed low. Sounds strange and heartbreaking, doesn't it? Many people might think I'm describing a scene from a science fiction movie. But no, this mysterious case really happened in 2007 at All Saints Church, an ancient church in the city of York, England. At the time, archaeologists began excavating the area behind the main altar of the church. They weren't expecting to find anything remarkable until they came across a skeleton in a bizarre bent-over position. This posture didn't match any known burial style from the medieval period. At first, everyone assumed it might have been due to some unusual religious ritual. But the more closely they studied the remains, the more they uncovered a heartbreaking and deeply mysterious story about this woman. According to archaeologists, the skeleton likely belonged to a woman named Isabel German, a reclusive figure who lived inside the church during the 15th century. Lady Isabel didn't live like an ordinary person. She had no family, no friends, and she never left the church. She lived entirely alone, confined to a small room behind the altar, almost completely isolated from the outside world. At this point, you might be wondering, why would anyone live like that? To answer that, the research team analyzed her bones and found clear evidence that Isabel suffered from several horrifying medical conditions that were untreatable at the time, including septic arthritis and advanced-stage syphilis. As you might know, syphilis in the Middle Ages was no small matter. There were no antibiotics, no treatment. Once infected, the disease would slowly destroy the body from the inside out. Bones would deform, skin would ulcerate, and the nervous system and mental health would deteriorate severely. And on Isabel's skeleton, scientists found the brutal traces of disease. Her skull, her spine, and other bones all bore the marks of decades of chronic pain. Specifically, experts believe she lived like that for 28 years. 28 years locked away in 4 walls, carrying a deadly, contagious disease, avoiding all human contact, not only to prevent spreading it, but also to suffer in silence. Yet what truly puzzled archaeologists was her burial posture. Instead of being laid out flat, typical for someone of religious status, Isabel was buried hunched over, as if bowing her head in submission or pain. Was her body so twisted by illness that it physically could not be straightened? Or was this a strange form of reverence, an act of ultimate devotion and sacrifice? Whatever the reason, one thing is certain. The story of Lady Isabel German isn't just another archaeological discovery. It's a haunting snapshot of life in the Middle Ages, a time when disease ravaged not just the body, but also the spirit, pushing people into isolation and despair. 6 skeletons found, face down in a cliffside cave. Some of the world's most chilling mysteries are hidden in places of breathtaking natural beauty, and Gran Canaria, one of Spain's Canary Islands, is exactly that kind of place. While millions of tourists flock to the island each year for sunshine, surfing, and stunning views, high up on a rugged cliff, archaeologists uncovered something truly spine-chilling. 6 human skeletons lying face down inside a rocky cave. Just hearing that feels unsettling, doesn't it? But wait, the story doesn't end there. According to the excavation team, some of the skeletons weren't just lying face down. They were found with their hands and feet bound, and their bodies covered with large, heavy stones. It was as if someone had deliberately trapped them there, not with the honor of a proper burial, but in a violent, almost ritualistic way. Veronica Alberto, the lead archaeologist on the dig, called it a case of violent death, and she meant it literally. "These people were not buried in the traditional sense," she said. "This was a burial practice that strongly symbolizes violence. Some bodies were forced to lie flat against the cave floor, then crushed beneath large stones. Others were tied with leather straps, leaving clear marks on their bones. A strange coincidence? Every single skeleton belonged to a man, and all of them had large, muscular arms, suggesting they were men used to hard physical labor, or perhaps even warriors. But what led these men to such a bizarre and brutal end? The initial theory from the archaeological team is that these 6 individuals may have been native islanders, dating back to somewhere between the 16th and 18th centuries, after the Spanish began colonizing the Canary Islands. That period was marked by intense conflict between the indigenous Guanche people and the European colonizers, often erupting into violent uprisings. So was this a secret execution meant to punish rebels? Or could it have been a form of ritual sacrifice rooted in indigenous spiritual beliefs? At this point, no one knows for sure. There were no artifacts found alongside the bodies, no weapons, no jewelry, no daily tools. Nothing but bones and the crushing weight of the stones that held them down. To uncover the truth, archaeologists are currently waiting on carbon isotope dating to determine the exact time of death. But until those results come in, the identities, backgrounds, and cause of death of these 6 men remain a total mystery, one that continues to baffle archaeologists and captivate historians, explorers, and mystery lovers alike. And you know what? Right now, all we're left with are faint clues, bones lying in silence inside a mountain cave, and a handful of controversial theories trying to explain what really happened. A giant dinosaur fossil, measuring 6.5 feet long, discovered in western France. Have you ever imagined that? Hidden beneath the soil of a peaceful vineyard village in western France, there could be a prehistoric treasure buried for millions of years? If not, let me tell you a story that recently stunned the archaeological world. Experts unearthed a massive dinosaur thigh bone, measuring over 6.5 feet long and weighing nearly 880 pounds. Just hearing that is impressive enough, but the story behind this bone is even more fascinating. After detailed examination, researchers found that the bone was still remarkably well preserved, despite being about 140 million years old, dating back to the late Jurassic period, a time when dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Even more astonishing, the bone weighs around 880 pounds, which strongly suggests it belonged to a giant dinosaur, possibly the largest ever discovered in France. Scientists are currently comparing it to another thigh bone fossil found in 2010 to determine whether the 2 bones might have come from the same dinosaur. It's a thrilling scientific puzzle, piecing together fragments of history, one discovery at a time. Experts believe the fossil likely belonged to a sauropod. Those long-necked giants that stood up to 60 feet tall lived around 150 million years ago and roamed the Earth's subtropical forests. These herbivorous creatures eventually vanished in the Cretaceous extinction event, which marked the end of the dinosaur era. Just imagine, an animal of that size once walked the very ground we now call modern-day France. Hard to believe, right? The fossil was discovered in Angoulême, a region known not only for its delicious vineyards, but also for being a treasure trove of paleontology. Since the early 21st century, archaeologists and volunteers have unearthed thousands of fossil specimens here, ranging from dinosaurs to invertebrates to diverse plant life. The area's humid subtropical climate helped create a rich ecosystem that preserved millions of years of natural history. This dinosaur fossil discovery isn't just another milestone in modern archaeology. It opens up an entirely new window into our ancient world. With every fossilized bone, we're transported back to a wild, untamed Earth, where colossal creatures roamed and ruled, painting a vivid and awe-inspiring picture of our planet's past. Have you ever thought that what we know about dinosaurs might just be the tip of the iceberg? Each new fossil found rewrites history, helping us understand more about how life evolved and changed through the ages. And this discovery in Angoulême is a powerful reminder of that truth. The princess mummy who remained beautiful after nearly 4,000 years. Can you imagine someone who has been resting underground for 4,000 years, and yet, when unearthed, their appearance still stuns the world with its beauty? Sounds like a legend, doesn't it? But this is a true story. one that shocked the international archaeological community back in 2003. If you're still skeptical, come with me as we travel back in time to one of the most mysterious places on Earth, the Lop Nur Desert, located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. This isn't just the setting of strange tales and lost travelers. It's also the final resting place of a mummy once dubbed the most beautiful princess in the history of Asian archaeology. It all began at the Shaohe Cemetery, an ancient burial site tucked away deep in the desert. In fact, this area was first excavated back in the 1920s. However, because technology at the time was still very limited, the exploration was abandoned halfway through. It wasn't until more than 60 years later that archaeologists returned to continue the unfinished journey. And then, something miraculous happened. The team discovered a particularly unusual tomb, buried deep beneath layers of sand and time. When they opened it, they were speechless. Inside was the body of a woman, believed to be a princess, so breathtakingly beautiful, it left everyone stunned. Unbelievably, after nearly 4 millennia, her body remained intact. Not only had it not decomposed, but her skin still retained its elasticity and softness, as if she had just fallen asleep. Most striking of all was her face. A high, delicate nose, soft, thin lips, and an elegant oval face. Preserved with such detail it resembled a finely crafted wax figure, except it wasn't created by any artist. This was real beauty, untouched for 4,000 years. But the story doesn't end with her appearance. What truly puzzled scientists was the result of her DNA analysis. According to the findings, her genetic makeup wasn't entirely East Asian. Instead, it showed a mysterious mix, an unusual blend of both East Asian and European ancestry. This raised a major question. Could it be that thousands of years ago, there were already migrations, interactions, and cultural exchanges between East and West? Is it possible that today's Xinjiang region once served as a crossroads for ancient civilizations? After surveying the entire cemetery, archaeologists identified around 330 tombs. Unfortunately, more than half, specifically 160 of them, had already been damaged over time. Harsh weather, invasive sands, and possibly even human destruction had all taken their toll. And so, in the vast sea of desert sands, the Shaohe princess is not just a mummy, she is a whisper from the past, a silent message about a once thriving civilization that now lives only in fragments. What do you think? Was her stunning beauty the result of ancient embalming secrets? Or is there something even more mysterious at play? And how many more treasures like this still lie buried in silence beneath the earth? Hard to say, isn't it? But if you ask me, I believe there are many more, waiting to be discovered. The bright red coffin and the woman's skeleton, found in the deserts of Inner Mongolia, China. Can you believe that an ordinary-looking grave in the middle of Inner Mongolia's desert could hide a terrifying secret, so disturbing that archaeologists literally ran away in fear? This isn't a joke, it's 100% real. Recently, Chinese archaeologists uncovered a rare bright red coffin buried in a small, unassuming grave. No different in size from that of an average person. But the color of the coffin stood out immediately. Instead of the usual somber black or dark wood, this coffin was painted a vivid red, a color that, in ancient Chinese culture, symbolizes luck, prosperity, and joy, typically reserved for weddings, festivals, or the Lunar New Year. So, why would such a festive color be used for a burial? When the archaeologists opened the coffin, they were stunned to find the well-preserved remains of a woman, beautifully dressed and adorned with numerous pieces of pure gold jewelry. Sounds intriguing already, right? But the strange part doesn't stop there. As the team gently lifted the cloak covering the body, a black liquid suddenly gushed out, startling everyone and sending some team members fleeing in panic. That liquid turned out to be mercury, a highly toxic substance, but also a clever and effective tool used by ancient people for corpse preservation. Subsequent tests confirmed exceptionally high levels of mercury inside the coffin. This wasn't accidental. It was part of an advanced embalming technique used to prevent decomposition. By injecting or flooding the body with mercury, the ancient embalmers managed to keep the corpse astonishingly intact for thousands of years. Even more fascinating, mercury served a double purpose. Besides preservation, it also acted as a powerful deterrent against grave robbers. Anyone trying to loot the tomb could be fatally poisoned just by coming into contact with the mercury. Just imagine, over 1,000 years ago, at a time when much of the world had little understanding of modern science, the Chinese had already figured out how to use toxic chemicals like mercury both to protect the dead and to defend the sanctity of their tombs. This method wasn't just practical, it also reflects an extraordinary level of intelligence, creativity, and ritual sophistication that modern scientists have come to deeply admire. The red coffin was discovered in Inner Mongolia, a region rich in history and culture, filled with ancient relics long buried under the earth. Each new archaeological find from this land helps us better understand the mysteries of time, how people lived, what they believed, and how they treated death. Perhaps the most intriguing part is that this coffin still seems to be hiding secrets, like a sealed door to another world, a world where the stories of ancient people remain untold, waiting quietly beneath layers of red earth. It makes you wonder, how many more secrets are still out there, waiting to be discovered? And who was this woman really? Why was she so carefully dressed and adorned in gold, even though her tomb was modest in size? If you're as fascinated by stories like this as I am, don't miss the chance to dive deeper into history and ancient culture, one artifact, one excavation at a time. Who knows? The next discovery might reveal something even more astonishing, something that reminds us just how intelligent, mysterious, and awe-inspiring our ancestors truly were. The 4,500-year-old beauty who carried other people's bones into her grave. Have you ever imagined that more than 4,500 years ago, ancient people didn't just bury their loved ones, they also kept their bones in such a unique way that it astonishes us today? Recently, British archaeologists uncovered a very special grave that reveals a strange burial culture, completely different from what we know now. The first grave was found in a field called Windmill Field, Stockton-upon-Tees. It belonged to a woman nicknamed the Death Beauty because of her mysterious allure and beauty. But what shocked the researchers even more was that inside the grave, along with her skeleton, they found a skull and bone fragments from at least 3 other individuals. Even more surprising, dating tests showed her remains to be about 4,500 years old, while the other bone fragments were older by roughly 60 to 170 years. This means these bones were carefully kept and passed down through generations before finally being buried with this woman. That's not all. Another grave was discovered containing an array of unusual and luxurious burial goods: stone axes, bronze items, bone plates, ivory, and even a musical instrument made from someone else's bones. Details that send chills down anyone's spine and spark endless curiosity. Professor Joanna Brooke from the University of Bristol, who studied these finds closely, said, "These discoveries indicate the existence of a strange, mysterious culture among some ancient British communities, one that not only buried their relatives, but also kept other people's bones as precious objects." Did you know that while we today consider human bones sacred and tend to avoid them, ancient people had a completely different view? They cherished these bones so much that they kept them at home, buried them under floors, and even displayed them like treasures. This culture was most widespread during the Bronze Age and is thought to represent a form of deep respect and remembrance for the deceased. What's even more remarkable is that these bones were not just buried as keepsakes, but were carved into musical instruments or other tools, showing the creativity and sacred meaning behind each item. They served as both mementos and powerful symbols, connecting the worlds of the living and the dead in ancient belief systems. From these discoveries, we gain insight into Bronze Age people. They were neither afraid of nor disgusted by human remains. Instead, they saw them as part of the soul and a precious heritage to protect. Although this culture faded thousands of years ago, it still echoes through each bone fragment and burial object, inspiring us to appreciate the values of the past. Have you ever wondered how you might feel living in that time, seeing your loved ones kept in such unique bones and special objects? Could we ever fully grasp the deep meaning behind these customs, or were they simply ways to express love and bonds that transcend death? Many mysteries remain for archaeologists to uncover, but through them, we see that human culture and attitudes toward death are diverse, rich, and full of surprises. 2. Blood-red infant skeletons, 30,000 years old, discovered in Austria. Have you ever wondered what stories about identical twins looked like in ancient times? While twins are no longer unusual today, Tales of twin births in prehistoric times, especially those forgotten over millennia, continue to captivate archaeologists and scientists alike. Recently, a discovery stunned the scientific community. Two tiny newborn skeletons, stained a vivid blood red, dating back 30,000 years, were unearthed in Austria. They were found inside an ancient oval-shaped grave, where the surrounding soil was stained with patches of bright red, resembling fresh blood. The two small skeletons lay side by side, their heads facing east, a detail far from accidental, carrying deep cultural significance. Archaeologists believe that after death, the bodies of these two infants were dipped in red ochre soil, a symbol of sacredness, power, and likely a ritual honoring the tiny souls. What particularly caught scientists' attention was the DNA analysis. These two babies were not only siblings but identical twins, an extremely rare and biologically significant finding. Even more fascinating, although buried together, one infant lived approximately 6 to 7 months, while the other survived only 3 to 4 months. This raises many questions about their lives and survival conditions during the harsh Paleolithic era. Beyond that, the way the infants were buried amazed researchers. The smaller skeleton was surrounded by mammoth ivory beads, while the other was adorned with a necklace made from shell. Items that were more than mere jewelry but expressed care, affection, and possibly indicated status or spiritual beliefs regarding the children. This grave was found at the Gravettian site of Krems-Vochtberg in Austria, an area well known for its rich Paleolithic remains. Additionally, researchers discovered another skeleton of a roughly 3-month-old infant believed to be a close relative of the twins. DNA analysis confirmed the 3 children were biologically related, painting a touching and profound picture of prehistoric family and community life. This discovery is far more than just the excavation of an ancient grave. It opens a treasure trove of knowledge about prehistoric culture, beliefs, medicine, and biology. By studying how they buried their dead and the rituals involved, we gain insight into how people then lived, honored, and cherished life, even that of fragile little children. Do you think the Red Earth still holds countless other secrets yet to be uncovered? Or that stories of maternal love, loss, and faith in the afterlife silently endure across tens of thousands of years? The discovery of these special twins acts as a key, unlocking a doorway through time, bringing us closer to the lives of the earliest humans on our planet. Dear friends, with that, the mystery of the 2 blood-red infant skeletons, 30,000 years old, discovered in Austria comes to the close of our exploration today. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to support ancient history's growth. For now, goodbye and see you next time.